I leave the management and lifetime usage rights of my home at 42 Maple Street to Mr. Otis Coleman." Theo's chair scraped back. "Wait, what?" Patterson, the lawyer, didn't look up from the document. He was a black man in his 70s, gray at the temples, reading glasses perched low on his nose. His suit was pressed sharp enough to cut bread. He kept reading. "To be held in trust with the following conditions: that the property remain intact and be used as a community resource for elderly residents requiring—" "Stop!" Theo stood. "Who the hell is Otis Coleman?" Patterson finally looked up. His gaze moved past Theo to the corner of the room, where Otis sat in a leather chair that cost more than his truck. Otis held his postal cap in both hands, turning it slowly. Navy blue fabric, worn gray at the brim. His uniform pants were still damp at the knees from the morning route. January slush. "Mr. Coleman is a civil servant. He delivered your mother's mail for 30 years. Theo turned, really looked at Otis for the first time since sitting down. Otis kept his eyes down. His boots, black regulation, salt-stained white up to the ankles, sat next to Theo's Italian loafers under the table. Polished leather that probably cost $600. No scuffs, no wear. "The mailman." Theo's voice climbed. "My mother left her house to the mailman?" "Your mother," Patterson said, each word deliberate, "was of sound mind when she executed this will 18 months ago. She was 83. She was lonely, Mr. Theo. Take off your glasses. There's a difference." Theo grabbed his coat. "This is a scam. He got to her, fed her some story. Your mother consulted with 3 attorneys. She had a psychiatric evaluation. The will is ironclad." Patterson slid a business card across the mahogany. "You're welcome to contest. You'll lose." "How much?" Theo pointed at Otis. "How much did you squeeze out of her before she died?" Otis looked up, met Theo's eyes for the first time. "Nothing." "Bullshit. I delivered her mail." "For what? Christmas cookies? You want me to believe she left you a $400,000 house because you were nice?" Otis's jaw tightened. His hand stilled on the cap. "She was kind," Otis said quietly. Theo laughed, sharp, bitter. "Kind. My mother gave you everything because she was kind." "She gave him a purpose." Patterson's voice cut through the room like a judge's gavel. "Something you might understand if you'd visited more than twice in 5 years. Theo's face went red. "You don't know anything about—" "I know she called my office 4 times last year, asking if there was a legal way to ensure you wouldn't sell her home the day she died." Patterson stood. "I know she wept in this chair when she signed the trust because she knew what it meant, that her own son cared more about the property value than the woman who raised her." The heating vent hummed. Traffic noise filtered up from 6 floors below. Theo grabbed his briefcase. "Keep the house. The roof leaks. The furnace is shot. He'll be buried in property taxes within a year." He looked at Otis. "Enjoy your prize, old man." The door slammed. Patterson sat back down, exhaled slow. "I apologize for that." Otis shook his head, stood. His knees popped. "He's grieving. He's angry." Patterson gathered the papers. "There's something else your mother left. For you." He pulled an envelope from the portfolio. Cream-colored, heavy. Otis's name written in shaky cursive across the front. "She asked me to give this to you after the reading. Said you'd need it when the noise died down." Otis took it. The paper felt expensive, real. He didn't open it. "Mr. Coleman," Patterson extended his hand, "your mother spoke very highly of you. Said you were the son she prayed for." Otis shook his hand, didn't trust himself to speak. Outside, the January wind cut through his jacket. The sky was the color of old concrete. Dirty snow piled at the curbs, black with exhaust and salt. Otis walked to his mail truck, 13 years old, passenger door dented, and sat behind the wheel without starting the engine. He could see 42 Maple Street from here, 2 blocks west. He'd walked that route 6 days a week for 3 decades, through heat waves and blizzards, through his wife's funeral and his daughter moving to California, through every season the South Side could throw at him. The envelope sat on the passenger seat. He didn't understand. He had only tried to help. Before we revealed a secret inside the will, typed like, if you believe loyalty is thicker than blood. The letter could wait. First, he needed to understand how it started. 5 years ago.
5 years earlier, September. The route hadn't changed in 30 years. Otis knew every crack in every sidewalk on the South Side, knew which dogs barked and which ones bit, knew Mrs. Chen got her disability check on the 3rd, Mr. Washington his VA pension on the 1st. 42 Maple Street was always last. Hattie would be on the porch, rocking chair creaking slow, rosary beads moving through her fingers. She was 78 then, hair white and thick, pulled back in a bun, school teacher posture even at rest. "Afternoon, Mrs. Hattie." "Afternoon, Mr. Otis," she smiled, always smiled. "Anything today?" He sorted through the bundle, electric bill, Medicare notice, grocery coupons. "Nothing from Theo, ma'am." The smile stayed, but her eyes dimmed. Then she patted the chair beside hers. "Come sit. I made tea." "I'm still on the clock. 5 minutes won't hurt." He sat. The porch was clean. The house behind her quiet in a way that made his chest ache. She poured from a thermos, sweet tea, sugar and lemon, the way his mama used to make it. "How's your knee?" she asked. "Acts up when it rains." "Gulf War?" "Yes, ma'am. Shrapnel." She nodded, rocked. The chair had a rhythm like a heartbeat. Around her neck hung a heavy gold chain, not for jewelry, but holding a small magnifying glass she used for fine print. Theo hurt his knee too, back in college, basketball. It flared up again a few years ago, had surgery. She wasn't looking at Otis, just out at the mailbox with its door hanging crooked. "I sent flowers to the hospital. He called once to say he got them." Otis sipped his tea. "That was 6 years ago," Hattie said. The September sun was warm, but her voice was winter. "I'm sure he's busy, ma'am." "Oh, he is, very important. Works in finance downtown, big office, glass walls, view of the lake." She'd told him this before, same words, like she was rehearsing for someone who'd ask. "Raised that boy by myself after his daddy died. 2 jobs so he could have new shoes and college. Now he's got more money than I ever dreamed of, and I can't get him to return a call." Otis set down his tea. "Want me to look at that mailbox? The door's loose." She blinked, nodded. "If you have time." He always had time. The seasons turned, but the routine didn't. October, he fixed the mailbox, replaced the hinge, painted it black. November, the porch light burned out. He brought a bulb, climbed the ladder while she held it steady and told him to be careful. December, kitchen faucet dripped. He tightened it while she peeled potatoes for a dinner she'd eat alone. January, she asked him to read the newspaper. Her eyes were tired, the print too small. He sat at her kitchen table and read obituaries while she cooked. Every day she asked, "Anything from Theo?" Every day he shook his head. Every day something in her bent a little more. By the second winter, Hattie stopped asking. She still came to the porch, still rocked and prayed, but she didn't look at him when he handed her the mail, just took it, nodded, went inside. Otis started noticing things. Tomato plants died. She didn't replant. Porch stayed unswept. Leaves piled in corners. The thermos disappeared. One February afternoon, he knocked instead of calling. She came slow, wrapped in a sweater, though the heat was on. "Miss Hattie, you feeling all right?" "Just tired, Mr. Otis." Her hands shook, taking the mail. Then, when she turned back, he saw the calendar on her kitchen wall. December's page, 2 months old. Every day blank except Christmas. Theo coming? The question mark broke him. Not because it was sad, because he recognized it. His own mother had waited like this, waited for him to come home from deployment, waited while cancer ate through her lungs, waited until the morphine made her forget she was waiting at all. He'd gotten home 3 days after her funeral. He'd sworn then, never again, never let someone die waiting. He stood on Hattie's porch and looked at the mailbox he'd fixed, the house he'd maintained, the chair that barely moved anymore. She was waiting for a letter that would never come. She'd said it once months back, voice soft. "We wait for mail like we wait for grace, hoping it finds us before the dark comes." She wasn't smiling when she said it. And now the dark was coming. Otis could see it in her eyes, in her hands, in the way she stopped pretending to hope. You could die from waiting, slow, quiet, one empty mailbox at a time.
December came hard, the kind of cold that made metal burn your skin, the kind that found every gap in a window frame. Otis's mail truck had no heat, budget cuts 3 years back, so he wore 2 pairs of gloves and kept moving. He noticed Hattie's curtains were still drawn at noon. That wasn't right. A mailbox was full, 3 days of mail jammed inside, catalogs bent and water-stained. He pulled it out, knocked on the door. No answer. He knocked again, harder. "Mrs. Hattie?" Nothing. The doorknob turned in his hand, unlocked. The house was too warm, air thick with menthol and something sour underneath. The living room was dark, curtains closed against the winter light. Hattie lay on the couch under a pile of blankets. Her breathing rattled like stones in a can. "Mrs. Hattie?" Her eyes opened, cloudy, unfocused. "Theo?" Her voice barely a whisper. "That you, baby?" Otis knelt beside her. His knees popped. "No, ma'am, it's Otis." "Oh." She blinked, tried to focus. "I thought—" Her lips were cracked. Her hair, always so neat, was wild against the pillow. She looked smaller than he'd ever seen her. "How long you been like this?" "Few days. Can't remember." She coughed, wet and tearing. "Called the doctor. He came yesterday, I think. Said pneumonia." "Where's your medicine?" She pointed weakly toward the kitchen counter. He found the prescription bottle. Antibiotics. Still nearly full. "Mrs. Hattie, you taking these?" "Can't keep 'em down. Water makes me sick." He got her a damp cloth, wiped her face, found a thermometer. 102 degrees. "I need to call someone, get you to the hospital." "No." Her hand caught his wrist, weak but insistent. "No hospital. They'll just—" She trailed off again, her eyes going distant. "Is Theo coming?" Otis looked at her, at the hope still clinging to her face like frost. "Let me call him." The phone was in the kitchen, avocado green, rotary dial, a relic. Next to it, a small address book with a cracked leather cover. He opened it. Only a few numbers written inside, most crossed out, Dead, probably, or moved. One wasn't crossed out. Theo, written in careful cursive. A Chicago number, same area code. He dialed. His fingers were shaking. 4 rings. Yeah? Theo's voice, already annoyed. Mr. Theo, I'm calling about your mother. Who is this? I'm the mailman, your mother's mailman. Sir, she's very sick. She has pneumonia and... Music swelled in the background. Laughter. Someone shouting about shots. Hold on. Theo's voice went muffled, then back sharp. What do you want? Your mother needs you. The doctor said... She's 83. Old people get sick. It's what they do. Otis's jaw tightened. Sir, your mother's asking for you. Look, I'm in Aspen. Do you know what lift tickets cost here? $5 grand, non-refundable. Tell her to take her medicine. I'll be back after New Year's. She might not make it to New Year's. Silence, except for the music. Some pop song Otis didn't recognize. Is she dying right this second? No, but then she'll be fine. Old people are dramatic. She does this every year around the holidays. Guilt trip to get me to visit. Theo's voice went cold. And you, I don't know what your angle is, but stay in your lane. Deliver mail. That's it. The line went dead. Otis stood there, receiver still pressed to his ear, listening to the dial tone, that flat, endless sound. In the living room, Hattie coughed. He hung up, walked back. She was awake, her eyes clearer but filled with something worse than fever. Was that him? Otis looked at her, at the hope breaking across her face like ice. Wrong number, ma'am. She closed her eyes. Tears slid into her hair. He's not coming. It wasn't a question. Mrs. Hattie. It's all right, Mr. Otis. I know. Been knowing. I'm just tired. So tired of hoping. She turned her face to the wall. Otis sat in her kitchen after she fell back asleep. The room was dark except for the stove light. The calendar on the wall showed December, Christmas circled in red pen, nothing written inside the circle, just empty space where a sun should be. He thought about Theo's voice, that casual cruelty. Old people are dramatic, like his mother was a burden, like her life was an inconvenience to his ski vacation. Something in Otis shifted. Not anger, colder than that. Purpose. He'd spent 23 months in the Gulf, watched good men die in bad sand, came home with shrapnel in his knee and a promise, no one dies alone, not on my watch. He stood, looked at his reflection in the dark window, 68 years old, gray hair, tired eyes, postal uniform smelling like diesel and old paper. All right, soldier, new mission, no man left behind.
Otis's apartment was one room above a laundromat on 63rd Street. The kind of place where the heat worked sometimes and the walls were thin enough to hear every argument, every crying baby, every laugh being lived louder than his own. He sat at the kitchen table under a bare bulb that turned everything yellow and old. The table was scarred formica, a burn mark from a coffee pot shaped like a kidney. His wife's doing. 15 years gone, and he still saw her when the light hit it right. He'd stopped at Walgreens on the way home, bought a box of nice stationery, cream-colored, heavy, the kind people used for thank-you notes and sympathy cards. Now it sat in front of him, blank, waiting. His hands were shaking, not from cold, from knowing. He pulled out a sheet, set it careful on the table. Beside the paper lay the pen he'd bought along with the stationery, a simple fountain pen, black plastic barrel, but it had real ink. He wanted this to look right. He held it over the paper. His handwriting was rough. 30 years of writing addresses on packages, scrawling "sorry we missed you" notes. Nothing elegant, nothing that looked like it came from a man who worked in a glass tower downtown. But Hattie's eyes were weak. The magnifying glass helped, but she'd be looking for meaning more than penmanship. She'd be looking for hope. He started writing. "Dear Mom." His hand cramped. He shook it out, tried again. The letters came uneven, shaky. He pressed lighter, trying to smooth them out. "I'm sorry I haven't written sooner. Work has been busy. You know how it is." Lies came easier than he thought they would. "I think about you all the time, about the house, about your tomatoes, about Sunday dinners." That part was true, at least. Theo probably did think about those things, probably missed them in some distant, abstract way, the way you miss childhood, safe, easy, someone else's problem. "I know I haven't been there the way I should. I know you've been waiting." Otis stopped, put the pen down. His throat was tight. This was fraud, federal mail fraud if he put it in her mailbox. Even hand-delivering it was a kind of theft, stealing her right to know the truth. But what was truth worth to a woman dying of loneliness? He picked up the pen again. "I'm sorry I can't be there for Christmas, but I want you to know I love you. I always have, even when I don't show it." His hand was steadier now, the words coming faster. "You taught me everything that matters, how to be strong, how to be kind, how to hope even when it hurts." He thought about his own mother, how she'd waited for him, how she died waiting, how he'd come home to an empty house and a funeral program on the kitchen counter. "Thank you for never giving up on me, even when I gave you every reason to." He stopped, read it over. The handwriting was rough but readable. The words were true, even if the author wasn't. He got to the signature line and paused. His pen hovered over the paper. He couldn't write Theo's name. That was a line he wouldn't cross. Forgery, identity theft, criminal. But he could write something else, something true in a way that mattered more than facts. He wrote carefully, in letters slightly larger than the rest. "Your son." Not Theo, not Otis, just "your son." Let her read it however she needed to. He folded the letter, found an envelope, wrote her address in his usual scrawl. That part didn't need to be disguised. He was delivering it by hand anyway. He held the envelope up to the light, thin enough to see the shadow of words inside, thick enough to carry weight. "Lord," he said out loud, his voice rough in the empty room. "If this is wrong, put it on my tab, but I can't let her die thinking nobody cared." The radiator clanked, steam hissed. Somewhere below, a dryer buzzed. Sometimes a lie told from love is the truth of the heart. He didn't know if that was true, didn't know if God would see it that way. But he knew this: Hattie needed hope more than she needed honesty. And if hope came wrapped in deception, so be it. He'd carried worse in his pack through worse terrain for worse reasons. This was just one more delivery. The weather report came on the radio at 6 a.m. The voice was urgent, clipped. Major winter storm moving in, lake effect snow, whiteout conditions, all non-essential travel prohibited, postal service suspended until further notice. Otis looked out his window. The sky was gray as old cement. Wind rattled the glass. He got dressed anyway. Uniform, 2 pairs of socks, boots, the letter in his inside pocket, close to his chest where it wouldn't get wet. His supervisor called at 7. "Coleman, you hear the news? Nobody's going out today. Roads are closed." "Yes, sir." He hung up, put on his coat, checked the letter one more time. Then he stepped out into the wind.
Christmas Eve. The storm hit at 4 p.m., 2 hours before sunset. The kind of storm that made the news call it historic. The kind that shut down airports and sent plows back to the garage. Otis climbed into his truck anyway. The letter was in his jacket pocket, sealed in a plastic bag inside a second plastic bag. He'd learned that in the Gulf. Keep what matters dry. The streets were empty, businesses closed, lights strung across storefronts swayed wild in the wind, some already torn down. Snow came sideways, thick as smoke. He made it 3 blocks before the engine coughed, 2 more before it died. He tried the ignition, nothing. The starter clicked, went silent. He sat there, wind rocking the truck, watching snow pile against the windshield. 42 Maple Street was 1.5 miles west. Through this storm, might as well be 10. His phone had 1 bar. He could call a tow, wait it out. He looked at the dashboard clock, 4:47 p.m. He thought about Hattie on that couch, fever burning through her, waiting for a son who'd chosen powder snow over her. He thought about his mother, how she'd waited alone. He got out of the truck. The cold hit like a fist. Wind tore at his coat, found every gap. Snow stung his face, got in his eyes. He pulled his postal cap down tight, zipped his jacket to his throat, and started walking. The first few blocks weren't too bad. He knew these streets, could walk 'em blind. His boots crunched through snow already 6 inches deep. His breath came out white, snatched away by the wind. Halfway there, his knee started talking. Oh, shrapnel, pieces too small to remove, too big to forget. In this cold, it felt like broken glass grinding bone. He kept moving. Just 1 more step, soldier. She's waiting. 3 blocks from her house, he fell. Didn't see the curb under the snow. His boot caught, knee buckled, and he went down hard on the ice underneath. His glasses flew off, disappeared into white. He lay there, wind screaming over him, snow already piling on his back. His knee was fire. His hands were numb through 2 pairs of gloves. He could stay here. Someone would find him eventually. Or he could get up. He got up. Felt around blind until his hand found his glasses. 1 lens cracked, but he could see. He checked the envelope, still dry inside his jacket. He kept walking. The last stretch, he wasn't cold anymore. That was bad. He knew that. Hypothermia made you feel warm right before it killed you. He didn't lie down. His knee was past pain now, just distant noise like a radio fading out. His face was numb. His hands were numb. His feet might as well have been blocks of wood. But the letter was still dry, and 42 Maple Street was just ahead. Porch light yellow through the snow, warm, waiting. He climbed the steps. Each one took everything he had. At the top, he leaned against the door frame, raised his fist to knock. The wind screamed, tore the sound away. He knocked again, harder. Nothing. He pounded with both fists. "Mrs. Hattie!" The wind swallowed his voice. He pressed his face to the window. Inside, dark except for the television flickering. The door opened. Hattie stood there in her nightgown and robe, the magnifying glass on its gold chain around her neck. She looked at him for 3 seconds before her mouth opened. "Mr. Otis? Lord Jesus!" He tried to speak. His jaw wouldn't work right. Too cold. "Get in here!" She grabbed his arm, stronger than she looked, and pulled him inside. The warmth hit him like a wall. His legs went. She caught him, barely, got him to the couch. "What in God's name are you doing out in this?" She pulled off his gloves, rubbed his hands between hers. "You could have died." He reached into his jacket with stiff fingers, pulled out the plastic bags. Inside, the envelope, still dry. He held it out. "Special delivery," he said. His voice sounded like gravel. "Christmas Eve, hand delivery only." She took it, looked at the envelope, then at him. Her eyes went wide. "This is from Theo?" He didn't answer, couldn't. She sat beside him, envelope clutched to her chest. Outside, the wind howled. Inside, only their breathing. She looked at him, at his cracked glasses, his snow-covered uniform, his face red from wind and cold. "You walked here?" "Yes, ma'am." "In this storm?" "Yes, ma'am." "For a letter?" He met her eyes. "For you." Something passed between them. Understanding, maybe. Recognition. She patted his hand. Hers was warm now, alive. "Let me get you some tea, then I'll read it." But she didn't move, just sat there, holding the letter like it was the most precious thing in the world. Outside, the storm raged. Inside, for the first time in weeks, Hattie smiled.
Inside, the house was dark except for the television's blue flicker. "Sit," Hattie said, guiding Otis to the couch. "You're frozen through." She disappeared into the kitchen. He heard water running, the click of the stove. He sat. His hands were still shaking, not from cold anymore. The living room was too quiet, too cold. He looked at the fireplace, dark, full of old ash. He stood, went to the wood basket beside the hearth, found kindling and newspaper. His hands remembered the motions. Tent the kindling, light the paper, feed it slow. The fire caught, grew, warmth spread into the room like a living thing. Hattie came back with 2 mugs, steam rising. She handed him one, sat in her rocking chair. "You didn't have to do that," she said, nodding at the fire. "You need the warmth. So do you." They drank in silence. The tea was too sweet, the way she always made it, sugar and lemon and something she could never place. The envelope sat on the side table between them. She set down her mug, picked up the envelope, held it to the lamplight like it might be a trick. "Christmas Eve delivery?" she said softly. "Yes, ma'am." "You said it came to your station yesterday?" He nodded. The lie came easier now, or maybe harder. He couldn't tell anymore. She opened it slow, careful, like the paper might tear, pulled out the single cream-colored sheet, held it up, squinted. Then she reached for the magnifying glass on its gold chain around her neck, lifted it, held it over the paper, moving it slow across the words. Otis watched her face, watched her lips move as she read, watched her stop. The magnifying glass hovered over the middle of the page, over the signature line, probably, over the words, "Your son," written in his rough hand. She was quiet for a long time. Then she moved the glass up, across the body of the letter, studying it, the uneven spacing, the shaky lines, the way his G's hooked backward, that old habit from writing addresses too fast for too many years. Otis's heart hammered. She lowered the glass, looked at the letter, looked at him. Her eyes were filling with tears. "Mrs. Hattie," he started. She held up a hand, stopped him. She read the letter again, this time without the glass, just her eyes, weak as they were, moving over words she'd probably memorized already. When she finished, she folded the paper, careful, precise, held it against her chest. A tear ran down her cheek, then another. "Mr. Otis," she said. Her voice was steady, clear. "Come here." He stood, went to her, knelt beside her chair. His knee screamed, but he ignored it. She took his face in both hands, looked at him the way his mother used to, the way someone looks at you when they see past your skin to whatever's underneath. "Thank you," she whispered, "for bringing it through the storm. Yes, ma'am, for walking all that way. It wasn't that far. In a blizzard?" Her thumbs brushed his cheeks. "On Christmas Eve?" Her voice broke. "For me?" "Mrs. Hattie." "The words are beautiful, Otis." She smiled through her tears. "Just like the man who delivered them." His throat closed. She released his face, held out her hand. He took it, let her pull him to sit beside her on the arm of the rocking chair. "I'm tired," she said, "but not the bad kind anymore, not the kind that makes you want to quit." She looked at the letter in her lap. "This is the best Christmas gift I've had in 20 years. It's just a letter." "No," she shook her head. "It's proof that someone remembered, that someone cared enough to make sure it got here, that I'm not invisible, that I matter. You matter. I know that now." The fire crackled. Outside, the wind had died down. The storm was passing. "Will you stay a while, just until the tea's gone?" "Yes, ma'am." So they sat, her in the chair, him on the arm, the letter between them, the fire warm in the room that had been so cold an hour ago. She didn't ask who wrote it. He didn't explain. Some truths were too heavy for words. Some lies were kinder than facts. And some gifts, real gifts, didn't need a signature. Just someone willing to walk through hell to deliver them. After a while, she spoke again, quiet, almost to herself. "Grace comes in strange packages sometimes." Otis looked at her. She was smiling, the first real smile he'd seen in months. Color back in her cheeks, light back in her eyes. "Yes, ma'am," he said, "it does." Have you ever told a lie just to protect someone's heart? Tell us your story below.
January thawed slow. The snow turned to slush, then to dirty water running in the gutters. Hattie's health came back in small pieces. She could stand without getting dizzy, could eat soup without her stomach turning, could sit on the porch again, wrapped in blankets, watching the world wake up from winter. Otis came by every day after his route, sometimes with mail, sometimes without. It didn't matter. She'd have tea waiting, or soup, or just a chair beside hers and silence that felt like prayer. The neighbors noticed. Mrs. Chin 2 doors down, Mr. Washington across the street. They'd see Otis's mail truck parked out front longer than a delivery should take, see him leaving at dusk with Tupperware full of leftovers Hattie insisted he'd take home. They talked, the way neighbors do. By mid-January, the whole block knew the mailman was sweet on Hattie Robinson, or she on him, or maybe they were family, the way people become family when blood fails. Someone must have called Theo. He showed up on a Tuesday. Otis was at the stove stirring chicken soup, Hattie's recipe, the kind that took all day, bones and vegetables simmering until the broth turned gold. Hattie was in her chair by the window, reading the newspaper with a magnifying glass. She looked up when the car pulled into the driveway too fast, tires spitting gravel. "Who's that?" Otis asked. Her face went white. "Theo." The car door slammed, footsteps heavy on the porch. The door flew open without a knock. Theo stood there in a wool coat that cost more Otis made in a month. His face was red from cold or anger or both. His eyes found Otis at the stove, apron tied around his postal uniform. "What the hell is this?" Otis set down the spoon. "Mr. Theo, your mother's. I know who she is." Theo stepped inside, didn't take off his shoes, tracked slush across the clean floor. "What are you doing in her house?" "Making soup." "Making soup." Theo laughed, sharp, mean. "The mailman's making soup." "Theo," Hattie said. Her voice was weak but steady. "Mr. Otis has been helping." "Helping himself, you mean?" Theo crossed to Otis, stood too close. "I heard about you. Heard you're here every day, playing nursemaid, playing son." He said the word like a curse. "What's your angle? You get her to sign something, put your name on the deed?" "I haven't." "Bullshit." Theo shoved him. Not hard, but enough. Otis's hip hit the edge. "Theo, stop it!" Hattie gripped her chair arms, trying to stand. "You know what you are?" Theo leaned in. His breath smelled like expensive scotch. "You're a parasite, a con artist, preying on a sick old woman who doesn't know any better." Otis kept his hands at his sides, his voice level. "Your mother needed help. I helped. She's got a son. She doesn't need you." "Then where were you?" The words came out before Otis could stop them. Theo's face went darker. "What did you say?" "Where were you?" Otis said again, louder. "Where were you at Christmas?" Theo grabbed Otis by the shirt, pulled him close. "You don't know anything about my life, about what I deal with, about—" "Theo!" They both turned. Hattie was standing, not holding on to anything, just standing in the middle of the room, all 83 years and 90 pounds of her, shaking like a leaf, but upright. She took one step, then another, walked right up to him, put herself between her son and Otis, spread her arms like she could shield a man twice her size. "Get out," she said. Theo stared at her. "Mom, get out of my house. I'm trying to protect you from—" "He's been here," her voice cracked, "every day when you were too busy skiing and golfing and doing whatever it is that's more important than your own mother." Tears ran down her face. "He showed up, Theo, when no one else did. I'm your son. He is more family to me than you'll ever be." The room went silent. Theo stared at her, his mouth open, face twisted with something that might be hurt if it wasn't buried under so much anger. "Fine." He straightened his coat. "You want him? Keep him. But when he bleeds you dry, don't call me." "You haven't called me in 5 years, Hattie said quietly. "Why would you start now?" Theo looked at Otis. "Don't think you've won, mailman. Blood always wins." He walked out, slammed the door so hard a picture fell off the wall. The car engine roared, tires squealed. Then silence. Hattie swayed. Otis caught her before she fell. Her skin was gray, her breathing shallow. "Mrs. Hattie, she'm all right, but she wasn't. Her hand went to her chest, pressed hard. "Just give me a minute. I'm calling an ambulance." "No." She grabbed his wrist. "No hospitals. Not yet. Just stay." So he did. He sat beside her, held her hand, felt her pulse flutter like a trapped bird. Outside, the sun set behind gray clouds. Inside, something had broken that couldn't be fixed.
Hattie died on the Thursday, 3 days after Theo's visit, 2 days after her heart finally decided it had carried enough. Otis found out from Mr. Washington, who'd seen the ambulance. Lights, but no sirens. That's how he knew. He drove to the hospital, sat in the parking lot 20 minutes before going inside. The woman at the desk looked at him with tired eyes. "Family only." He stopped. What was he? "I need to see her." "Are you immediate family?" "No, but I'm sorry. Hospital policy." Theo came out of the elevator, saw Otis, walked right past him like he was furniture. Otis didn't go inside. The funeral was Monday. He stood at the back of the church, didn't sit, didn't sign the guest book, watched Theo play the grieving son for 200 people who never visited Hattie while she was alive. The casket was closed, flowers everywhere, lilies. Hattie hated lilies. She would have wanted orchids or nothing at all. Otis left before the eulogy. Tuesday morning, a locksmith's van was in Hattie's driveway. By afternoon, a dumpster sat on the curb. By Wednesday, the house was empty. Otis watched from his truck as men carried out Hattie's life in boxes and garbage bags. The couch, the kitchen table, the rocking chair from the porch. They threw the chair on top of the dumpster. It landed hard, one rocker snapping off. Otis waited until the men left, until Theo's car pulled out for the last time. Then he walked to the dumpster. He climbed up, his knees screaming, and started digging. Clothes, books, picture frames with broken glass, a quilt torn and stained. He found the rocking chair near the bottom, broken but salvageable, and underneath a small wooden box. Inside, birthday cards, a funeral program for her husband, a baby photo of Theo, and at the bottom, folded careful, the letter, "Your son." The paper was creased where she'd held it, worn soft at the edges, water stains on it, or tears. Otis held it to his chest. "I'm sorry I couldn't save your home, Hattie." The wind scattered leaves across the lawn no one would rake any more. He lifted the rocking chair onto his shoulder, picked up the box, and walked 2 miles back to his apartment, through the neighborhood Hattie had lived in for 60 years, past houses where people she taught were raising children, past the church where she'd prayed every Sunday. No one stopped him. He was just the mailman, invisible. His apartment had never felt smaller. He set the chair by the window, put the box on his kitchen table, read the letter again. "I think about you all the time." The lie felt heavier now. His phone rang. Unknown number. "Mr. Coleman, this is James Patterson. I'm the attorney handling Mrs. Robinson's estate. I need you to come to my office Friday at 2 p.m. Sir, I don't think Mrs. Robinson was very specific. You need to be there. A pause. Don't miss it, Mr. Coleman. It's important. The line went dead. Otis sat surrounded by the pieces of Hattie's life that her son had thrown away. Outside, the sun set purple and gold. Inside, Otis held a letter and wondered if lies could ever be forgiven.
The lawyer's office looked exactly the same. Same mahogany desk, same leather chairs, same cold January light coming through windows 6 floors up. But everything felt different. Otis sat in the same corner chair, cap in his lap, boots leaving salt stains on the carpet. Theo sat across from him, leg bouncing, checking his phone every 30 seconds. Patterson adjusted his glasses, opened the leather portfolio. "Thank you both for returning. I have additional items to distribute per Mrs. Robinson's wishes." Theo leaned forward. "Can we just get to the house? I've got contractors waiting for—" "The house," Patterson said, his voice flat as winter, "is no longer a matter for contractors." He pulled out a document, read slow and deliberate. Mrs. Robinson established an irrevocable trust 18 months prior to her death. The property at 42 Maple Street has been placed into said trust with Mr. Otis Coleman named lifetime trustee and beneficiary of use. Theo's leg stopped bouncing. "What does that mean?" "It means Mr. Coleman has the right to live in and manage the property for the remainder of his life. Upon his death or voluntary relinquishment, the property will be converted into a community resource center for elderly residents in need of—" "Wait," Theo stood. "She can't do that." "She did. The house is worth $400,000. She can't just—" "The house cannot be sold, cannot be mortgaged, cannot be transferred. Those are the conditions of the trust. Violating them results in the property reverting to the city." Theo's face went red. "This is bullshit. He manipulated her. "The trust was established before you'd spoken to your mother in 18 months, before Mr. Coleman ever stepped foot inside her home beyond his postal duties. She consulted 3 attorneys, had a psychiatric evaluation, made her intentions very clear." Theo sat down hard, stared at the wall. Otis didn't move, didn't feel triumph or relief, just heavy, like he was wearing someone else's life. "Mr. Theo," Patterson said, "your mother did leave something for you." He pulled a small metal box from under his desk, rusty on the corners, old, the kind that used to keep important papers back when people kept those things at home. He slid it across the table. Theo stared at it. "What is this?" "Your inheritance." Theo grabbed the box, shook it. Something rattled inside. He worked the latch, stuck with age, and pried it open. His hand stopped. Inside, no cash, no bonds, no keys to safety deposit boxes. Just a photograph, black and white, edges yellowed. A young boy, maybe 7, arms wrapped around a woman's waist, both of them smiling, really smiling, the kind that reaches your eyes. He lifted it with shaking fingers. Underneath the photo, a pocket watch, gold-plated but tarnished, the kind men used to carry before wristwatches. The face was cracked, the chain broken, and beneath that, a piece of paper, folded once, Hattie's handwriting. Theo unfolded it, read. His jaw worked like he was chewing something bitter. Patterson's voice cut through the silence. "Would you like me to read it aloud?" "No."
Theo's voice was rough. "For the record, then." Patterson pulled out a copy, read anyway. "This, Theo, is the last time you held me like I mattered. You were 7 years old. I waited 40 years for you to do it again, but you never came. The watch was your father's. He wanted you to have it when you became a man. I kept waiting for that day. The house goes to the son who showed up. I love you. I just wished you'd loved me back. Mom." The heating vent hummed. Traffic noise from 6 floors below. Theo stared at the photograph, at the boy he used to be, at the mother he'd stopped seeing somewhere along the way. "This is it?" His voice cracked. "This is all I get?" "That, Theo, is the knowledge that your mother thought of you until the very end." "Thought of me?" Theo laughed, hollow. "She cut me out." "She gave you exactly what you gave her, memories of when you used to care." Theo stood, shoved the box across the table. "Keep it. I don't want it." "Mr. Theo, I said keep it." He grabbed his coat, looked at Otis. "You think you won? You think this house makes you family?" Otis met his eyes, said nothing. "You're still just the mailman, and she's still dead." He walked out. The door didn't slam this time, just closed, soft, final. Patterson sighed, picked up the metal box, held it out to Otis. "He'll come back for it," Patterson said, "eventually, when the anger wears off and the grief sets in. Until then, would you hold on to it?" Otis took the box, looked inside, at the photograph, at the boy with his arms around his mother, at the smile that used to be real. "She loved him," Otis said quietly. "She did. Even after everything? Especially after everything." Patterson closed his portfolio. "That's what made it hurt so much." Otis set the box on his lap, felt the weight of it, not just the metal and memories, but the question underneath. Could you love someone and still let them go? Could you forgive someone who never asked? Could you carry their regrets when they wouldn't carry them themselves? He didn't know, but he'd hold the box until Theo was ready, because that's what family did, even when they weren't blood.
Theo was gone. The office felt quiet. Patterson stood and pulled a cream-colored envelope from his files, sealed with red wax. He slid it across the mahogany desk. On the front, in shaky cursive, "To my mailman." Patterson said, "She gave this to me 6 months ago. She made me promise to give it to you only after the trust was settled." Otis picked it up. His hands trembled. He broke the seal, unfolded the single sheet of paper. "Dear Otis, if you are reading this, I'm gone. And if Patterson did his job, you're probably confused. But I need you to know something. I knew. The moment you handed me that letter on Christmas Eve, I knew. Your handwriting is terrible, Otis, worse than a doctor's. I've seen it on package slips for 30 years. Did you really think I wouldn't recognize it? I knew it wasn't from Theo. My boy hasn't written a letter in 20 years. But I didn't care, because that night, watching you stand in my doorway covered in snow, holding that letter like it was a diamond, I understood. You walked through a blizzard for me, not for duty, not for pay, for me. No one has done that since my husband died, not my son, not my church, just you. So I read your letter, and I cried, not because I believed Theo wrote it, but because I knew you did, because you thought my hope was worth saving, even if the truth wasn't. That is love, Otis, the kind that doesn't need a signature. I'm leaving you the house because you're the only one I trust to keep it alive, not as a museum, but as a home, a place where people like us, the invisible ones, can be seen. Don't feel guilty about Theo. He has my blood, and I will always love him. But you, Otis, you have my heart. Thank you for the best lie anyone ever told me. Love, Hattie. P.S. Please fix that rocking chair. The broken rocker has driven me crazy for years. Otis lowered the letter. Tears fell onto his uniform pants. He knew, he whispered. She was a teacher for 40 years, Patterson smiled gently. Nothing got past Hattie Robinson. Otis folded the letter, held it to his chest. Thank you, sir. No, Patterson said. Thank you for being the kind of man who walks through storms. 3 months later, the sign went up on a Saturday. Hand-carved oak, letters burned deep. Hattie home, open to all. Otis stood on the porch, Hattie's porch, his porch now, watching Mr. Washington hang it above the door. The rocking chair sat beside him, fixed, both rockers intact, moving slow in the spring breeze. Inside, the house was alive. Mrs. Chen was teaching a group of widows how to make dumplings. Laughter drifted through the screen door, filling the space that grief had tried to hollow out. Her house wasn't empty anymore. Neither was he. Otis sat in the rocking chair. He pulled the letter from his pocket. He had memorized every line, but he liked seeing the ink. You have my heart. He looked up at the sky, clear blue, the kind of day Hattie loved. I kept my promise, he said to the wind. No one eats alone, not here. The chair rocked, a rhythm like a heartbeat. Inside, someone called his name. Mr. Otis, tea is ready. He stood, smiled. Coming, he said, and he walked inside, home. Blood makes you related. Love makes you family. Share this with the ones who showed up for you.